The last few weeks have been quite busy for the channel and really tiring for me. I reviewed two games, Star Wars Outlaws and Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, and then there was that massive project for the 10th anniversary of Destiny, and it was actually supposed to be even bigger, but luckily I came to my senses and made it something more doable for now. But even after that, I felt a bit burnt out and I didn't really want to start reviewing another game. So for this video, I thought I'll try something new. Most of my other videos are created to feed the YouTube algorithm. It has to offer something useful to someone, right? Whether it's a review or early impressions or just a recap of some important event. Those kinds of videos are fun to do, but sometimes you just feel like doing something for yourself. And one thing I always wanted to try was doing unscripted videos, talking about some games that I'm playing or something else that's been happening in that week. I mean, these kinds of videos are not really useful to anyone, but it's useful to me for just taking a break from doing all the other tiring stuff and just recharging my YouTube batteries. I did try doing some unscripted videos in season 2, but they ended up being so short that I felt they were a waste of time, not just for the viewer but also for me. That's because doing unscripted videos, just switching on the mic and talking random stuff, is actually a skill you need to work on. It doesn't come naturally to everyone. So I think it's been long enough that I can try once again to see if I can actually make an unscripted video sound interesting. I'm still probably going to speak very less, but this time my genius idea is that I'll pad the video with a bit of gameplay, because even if what I say doesn't make much sense, at least watching some gameplay will tell you a little bit about what to expect from that game. So let's see how it goes. So I primarily wanted to talk about 3 games today. I'm not really reviewing any of them, but I think these 3 games are good examples of how difficult it can be to convince people to play a game, especially if it is too similar to some other game. The first game we're going to talk about is Concord, the game which got shut down in less than a month. I think it was something like 11 days. Almost every YouTuber, big or small, is busy trying to do a post-mortem on this game, but I think it comes down to one thing, the price. If Concord had been a free-to-play game, at least more people would have tried it, and maybe it would have been a failure even then, but maybe not as big of a failure as it ended up being. I didn't buy Concord because I tried the beta and didn't really feel like I was interested in continuing that game. These days I'm playing very few multiplayer games, so I'm not in the target audience anyway. But even assuming that you like multiplayer games, Concord offered very little that was new. It was a hero shooter, and we have enough of those. Overwatch 2 is probably the biggest one, or at least the most visible one, and it is free to play. But again, remove the price and just look at the idea of Concord. It feels like a strange Guardians of the Galaxy clone with some high quality cutscenes but very average looking gameplay. You can see through my beta gameplay that I wasn't really good at the game. I didn't really understand the systems very well. And part of that is my fault. But part of the fault always goes to the game designer as well, because it is their job to teach the player how to play the game without making it feel like a huge lecture. So if you're not familiar how to play the basics of the game within the first few minutes, it's actually the game designer's fault. Anyway, I'll leave some more of my beta footage playing for a while before we move on to the next game.
On my mark.
Putting down a trip mine.
On my mark.
The next game I wanted to talk about was Star Trucker. It's like Euro Truck Simulator but in space. I haven't really played a lot of this game to give an opinion on it, but I would like to talk about the concept of it. The developer took an existing idea and just added a simple twist to it. I mean, it may sound simple, but changing even one variable in a proven formula means you have to figure out how to implement that twist. So, for example, if you remove the roads and set a truck in space, how do you control where the truck is going? You can go around in any direction. And there's all sorts of such small and big design problems that you have to solve. But while marketing the game to the player, you have a really cool concept: truck simulator, but in space. I mean, that already sounds interesting enough for existing truck simulator fans to at least give this game a try. And that's probably why Game Pass picked it up for their catalog. If you're not aware of this, every game that comes onto the Game Pass catalog has some sort of deal with Xbox. I'm not completely sure of what kinds of agreements they have, but at least one type that we know of is an upfront fee is paid to the developer. Now, assuming Star Trucker got that kind of a deal, that must have already helped them quite a bit in recovering their development costs. So, just by having an appealing idea, the developers have made back some of their money even before the game has ever come to market. We'll talk a bit more about this, but first, here is some gameplay from Star Trucker.
All patched up? Good. Now, before you get back on the road, it might be wise to check your CB radio. That's a 10-2, partner. Loud and clear. With that done, I guess you should be on your way. The jump gate up ahead should get you where you need to go. Safe travels, and I'll catch you on the other side.
the DIV. Glad to see you finally made it. We've already got a drop zone warmed up and waiting for you. So just head on over to the waypoint, detach your trailer in the designated area, and I'll make sure your payment gets processed ASAP.
And the last game I wanted to talk about today is Expeditions, a Mudrunner game. This is actually an older game, but it recently came out on Game Pass, and I did have this game in my wish list because I had previously played SnowRunner, which belongs to the same franchise, and I was really fascinated by the entire concept. Like most games with cars, they expect you to go fast, win races, but these games, they want you to go slow. Again, it's a very simple twist on an existing concept, and that makes it interesting right off the bat. The developer is Saber Interactive, and I think they have put out 3 games in total, including Expeditions. They have essentially been fine-tuning their formula with each game, but they're still sticking to a formula which they created as a twist on an existing formula. So they did the hard work up front, they discovered a unique twist to an existing formula, and then they continued reaping the benefits of that twist. Now, from an idea point of view, they don't really have to try again. They have struck gold. And now all they have to worry about is implementing these ideas perfectly each time. Like this latest idea, Expeditions, it has mixed reviews on Steam, so they have clearly gone off the road somewhere. But the twist that they kind of popularized is actually still interesting. We still get multiple racing games each year, but we don't get games like Mudrunner or SnowRunner each year. So as long as Saber Interactive gets the gameplay right next time, their formula will still continue to strike gold for them. Once again, let's go through some gameplay and then we'll try to see if any of what I said actually makes sense. Okay, so to recap, we talked about Concord, Star Trucker, and Expeditions. Star Trucker is a relatively new game and we are yet to see how it will impact the market. Expeditions is a new game in an already proven franchise, and Concord was just a new game. And that's where I think it failed. I mean, it's easy to say that Concord did not try anything new or it didn't bring something new to the table, but that's not really true. Concord did have some features that were unique to it. The problem was that people either did not know those features existed or did not care. In other words, their concept was not simple enough. All they had to show in that reveal event was that flashy cinematic trailer, which doesn't really matter for an online 5v5 game. If they had spent that much time on explaining their gameplay systems a little bit more, then maybe, just maybe, they would have seen a few more players show up for the beta at least, so that they could try the game firsthand and see what they feel about it. And yes, being a Sony first party title, I think Sony absolutely missed the opportunity to make it available to PS Plus members. But Sony doesn't do day one releases on their own subscription service, so that's their choice. Anyway, to wrap it all up, I'm just your average game consumer. I watch the trailers, I see gameplay deep dives and all those things to make decisions about what I choose to play. And of these 3 games, I think Star Trucker and Expeditions did a much better job of appealing to an average consumer than Concord ever did. Being available on Game Pass was definitely a huge factor for me to start playing Star Trucker and Expeditions, but I did have both those games on my radar, so if they had never come to Game Pass, I would have bought them eventually. In Concord's case, first, the accessibility was not there. These kinds of games, people definitely expect it to be free to play. And second, the game didn't really explain itself really well. You can see for yourself how terrible my gameplay is during the beta. I think Concord's failure should not be celebrated like some people are doing, but rather it should be taken as a lesson for other developers and publishers that they do need to take the market quite seriously. I mean, if a company like Sony cannot make a game sell well on day one, who else can? Anyway, that's enough of my rambling for now. I hope at least the gameplay sections were useful. And if you're on Game Pass, you can try Star Trekker and Expeditions right now. If you actually watched till the end, or at least some of this video, please do let me know what you think. I do want to get better at making unscripted videos so that I can actually make more videos. Thanks for watching.